Do you have a competitor who you respect and are happy to refer business to if they do not go your way? I do. Rankings.io. We respect them. They deliver high quality work and high quality results just as my team does. I think that they're second to none and just every bit as good as we are based on results that we've been observing for years. I know that we follow each other. Today, I had the pleasure of having the founder and CEO of Rankings.io, Chris Dreyer, who's been on this podcast before, an excellent guy who knows a ton about search marketing. Chris and I talked about the current state of search marketing for law firms, and we talked about the future of search marketing for law firms. If you want to future-proof your business, if you want to understand which way things are moving to, if you want to understand how cases will be coming to your law firm in not too distant of the future, listen to this episode and then take notes and then talk to your current marketing team. If you're confident that they're going to help you get there, if you're not confident in your law firm, in your marketing team, reach out to Rankings or to Grow Law. Both teams are equally good. By the way, I have no stake in Rankings. I get no commission from promoting them. I just respect them for the quality of work that they deliver, and that's all there is to it. But if you're not confident in your current marketing team, reach out to them, to us, or to both to future-proof against what is coming your way. Enjoy the episode. Hi there. I have a small but really meaningful favor to ask you. I watch at the stats on our YouTube channel and Spotify channel, wherever most people listen and watch our podcast. And I see that over 80% of everybody who listens to it regularly is not a subscriber. I'm asking you to subscribe to this channel. And the reason for that is my mission and the mission of my team is to help as many small law firm owners to learn how to transform their law firms into better businesses, and so they in turn enjoy better lives. When you hit subscribe button, you tell these platforms that this is content worth listening, worth viewing, and they in turn will show it to many other small law firm owners and hopefully help me fulfill our mission of helping them create a better business and enjoy better lives. So would you please do me this favor? It would mean the world to me. And hit the subscribe button. And my promise to you is that I will continue to work hard at creating good content with practical ideas that help you and your teams grow better law firms. Thank you. Welcome to Grow Law Podcast. I have an awesome guest with me here today, Chris Dreyer of Rankings.io. I think everybody has heard this name. Wonderful podcast, great guy. I promote Rankings, which is our direct competitor, all the time. If you've been to one of my webinars, people ask me like, who's the best? I'm like, check out Rankings, check out Grow Law. How do I know? We see your clients. We'll look at the ranks. They do incredibly well.
Thank you. That means a ton.
Welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks a lot.
So the topic of this episode, as we talked about before we hit the record button, is the future and the present state of search marketing for law firms. It's been evolving dramatically in the recent few quarters, and we're seeing changes. And I want to hear from you. You're larger, you have more clients. I want to see how you see things today, and where things may be heading into in the next few quarters.
Yeah, good question. So I think attention continues to fragment, and the behaviors change. Right at the beginning, we had yellow pages. That's where attorneys advertised. Then you open up TV, radio, and then you have Google, then there's just Facebook, and now there's programmatic, there's multiple social media platforms, and now look, hey, there's another method of search or discovery, and are these LLMs. And I think a lot of our competitors, that sold it, the future was kind of uncertain. There was a lot of those, is SEO really dead, and the question marks about it. But how we've seen this play out is like, it's just the behaviors changed. And a lot of the SEO tactics that you do to rank on Google are very important from a discovery perspective. There's little nuances and things to emphasize more, but people will go to ChatGPT and ask him questions and then come back to Google to convert. And we can also talk about what's going to happen with Google AI mode, right? And when they have 4-5 billion users, and when they make that the default channel. So there's a lot to this, but it's here. I think people are understanding the importance for the future. And when I speak in a room and I ask who uses ChatGPT, almost every single hand goes up. So it's here.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I picked up on you when you mentioned ChatGPT, you said ask him. You didn't say ask it, you said ask him.
Hmm.
I think the reason why ChatGPT is going to be such a prominent tool for search is exactly how you just framed it. People who use ChatGPT are looking at it as a him that's in the device, that is all knowledgeable, a helpful friend who knows everything or just about everything, and conversation will give you answers. And for that reason, a big part of search is migrating from Google to ChatGPT. But when it comes to actually making buying decisions, and I'm curious to hear if you know stats from your clients, when it comes to buying decisions, majority of those buying decisions, selecting an attorney still goes back to Google.
Yeah, almost predominantly on Google. It's when you look at the results to it, they're a mirror typically of the Google search results. If you say like, who's the best car accident lawyer in Los Angeles, it's looking at those top results. It's it may scrape a Yelp or super lawyers or a best lawyers, but a lot of the information is very similar. It depends on which LLM you're using, but yeah, the conversion is still occurring at the bottom of the funnel. I think the difference is the top of the funnel from a discovery and question and research perspective. A lot of that's happening on the LLMs.
Yeah. Do you have stats for your clients? Do you know what percentage of traffic that ends up on their websites comes through ChatGPT?
I'm not sure exactly on traffic. I can talk about users. For example, I think there were, let's see here, 700, it may be up to 800 weekly users on ChatGPT. The AI overviews, I believe, was 1.7 billion per month. And these stats continue to rise. And also, like, here's the thing where I go. Like, let's just say that you take ChatGPT and they win. Well, if Google made AI its default mode, the AI mode, you automatically have 4 to 5 billion users per month of distribution. But that's just Google search. That's not Google's entire ecosystem of Gemini, Waymo, Android, Gmail, Google Drive, Chrome. And when you look at it from that perspective, it's more like 14 to 16 billion. From a distribution perspective. So a lot of times people are like, oh, who's going to win this race? And Google a lot of times isn't even in the conversation. But when you start to understand the data resources that they have and capabilities they have, anytime you ride in a Waymo and you're in Arizona or in one of these other states that are collecting your data, and just the amount of distribution they have, I think it's unparalleled. I can't imagine them not being one of the top three in this race.
Yeah, for those of you who may not have been to the state of California, specifically San Francisco or Arizona, and don't know what Waymo is, those are self-driving little Jaguar SUVs that you're going to see with radars. I recently learned that term. Those are little spinning radars that you will see on every corner at the front and the top of the car. And my partner and I were recently at a conference in down San Francisco, and we counted at one intersection, very busy intersection, there were as many drivers as there were self-driving cars. It was 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
It was stunning. Before we were in Arizona earlier this year, there were like a handful here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And those cars are driven by Google technology, connecting the dots.
Yep. Yep.
So currently, our stats are we see that overwhelming majority of AI search-driven traffic to the websites, about 87%, is ChatGPT. Google's Gemini, another 9-10%, and then there's Perplexity, like yay much.
Mm-hmm.
Not very much, but there's definitely some. What was astonishing for us to learn from measuring these numbers for the past year and a half is a year and a half ago the traffic was close to zero. Today it's 27%. A year and a half ago, even a year ago, it was so rare for one of our clients to get a case that started on ChatGPT and then ended up on their website and then ended up converting, today it's 2%. And the reason why it's an astonishing stat in our minds is that if you were old enough to remember Yellow Pages and then adaptation of Google for finding lawyers, it was a slow journey. Like Yellow Pages stuck for a really long time. How long? Google became a prominent tool in the mid 90s, and Yellow Pages were still around 2010. People were still using them, fewer and fewer. And to adopt the technology of using Google for search, you first had to have a computer. Then you had to have a phone, and those phones, smartphones, became a thing in the late 2000s. And not a lot of people had them in 2007, 2008 when the first iPhone showed up, or 2008 or 9 when the first Google, I think it was called G1, showed
Mm-hmm.
up, right? So you had to have hardware to start using Google. With ChatGPT, there's no hardware. So that ramp up from 0 to 2% took a little bit of time, but I think from 2% to 5% to 10% is going to take less time. It is
I agree.
happening quickly. So, Mr. or Mrs. law firm owner, if your current marketing team is not paying attention to this, or if they're paying attention to this, but they're not doing anything about it, your market share will start eroding. Like 27% of traffic for our clients comes through ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. Got to pay attention to it. Got to make sure that your team has a game plan. Hopefully, they already have some proven results. Because if they don't, in a year's time, it will be like 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When you're like, what is this SEO? What does that mean, and how does that work? And then your competitors took off running, and you were kind of standing still. So let's talk about the how-to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important. We're not trying to make law firm owners into the mechanics of our trade, right? We do not think that you're going to be tooling around, figuring out how to get you to rank. But when you are talking to your marketing provider, we want to arm you so that you know what questions to ask. So from Google to ChatGPT, like what does it take to rank in ChatGPT from your team standpoint?
Okay, so let's talk about ChatGPT specifically. So Microsoft has an investment, a major investment in ChatGPT, in OpenAI. And then you have also that Microsoft owns Bing. So you have the Bing search engine, and then you have Bing uses Yelp predominantly for its reviews. And then you have the different licensing deals with Bing and Yelp and Microsoft as it relates to that component. So currently, when you do let's just stick with Google, you do a search, the top organic results, it's very rare that it's a firm anymore. You may see Yelp, you may see super lawyers, you may see Reddit, you may see a sprinkle of firms in the top 5, but a lot of times it's a third party directory. And you take something like even Reddit. Well, Google had a licensing deal with Reddit to train its LLMs. It was $60 million deal, $60 million license in 2024. So it's kind of like follow the money and follow the incentives. So there's so much to unpack here. But I will say for ChatGPT specifically, I would put significantly more importance and more emphasis on Yelp reviews. The traffic, I mean, go take a look at Yelp's traffic on Ahrefs. It's like a rocket ship. And a lot of times when people talk about these listicles, well, Yelp has a listicle of the best lawyers. Well, you have to get 20 to 40 reviews on Yelp. Okay, then there's the super lawyers listicle, and then there's the expertise listicle, and now they have the Justia listicle. So all these tactics that maybe weren't at the top of your prioritization list as an SEO specialist now have suddenly become one of the top things that you do.
Recently.
Mm-hmm.
This is recent. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, I mean, okay, so let's break this down. Let's just break it down into like a Venn diagram. Let's just say content, and let's just say the second would be reviews, and then the third would be like citations or external links. From a content perspective, it's always been important to group your content, organize your content into clusters or categories, right? It's not only Google's job to organize the web, but it's also the LLM's job to organize and be able to discover information easily. So if you got a trucking page, you don't want a dog bite landing page in the sidebar. Like, it sounds silly to say that, but you want trucking content in the sidebar. You want related content. You want to organize and group things. You want to internally link properly. So your content's very important. There's a greater emphasis of showcasing your authority. So case results. A lot of these attorneys that don't update their case results page. I mean, go do a search right now in ChatGPT and ask it, who's the best lawyer in X market? Almost always they're going to talk about the case results. Well, you need to have that information on your website and aggregate it to third-party sites too. So, but let's focus on the website. So content, the case results, grouping your content, all your technical optimizations. I don't want to, for our attorney audience listening, talk about markups and titles and all these things, but like, you need to have good, solid on-site SEO, excellent content that's organized, thematically relevant, link to entities, create relationships. If you're a St. Louis firm and you can naturally talk about the Arch, or you can naturally talk about Barnes Jewish Hospital, those things are good because it creates associations. Google doesn't read the words, it reads the tokens on the page, and the tokens are grouped. So Barnes Jewish is related with St. Louis, and you may, anytime you can create those relationships, it helps you from a content perspective. You mean keep rambling, me keep rolling?
Let me simplify what Chris just said, because we are not trying to make them into mechanics of our trade.
Yeah.
A solid general SEO is part of the formula for getting featured in generative search results, those that show up in ChatGPT and Google's Gemini and Perplexity. If your current state of SEO is mediocre or poor, like ChatGPT does not give you 10 listings. It will give you 2, it may give you 3, it may give you 4, but that's it. Like, if your SEO is mediocre or below mediocre, it's not happening for you.
1000%. The next thing is, let's just go to reviews next. Well, everyone knows the importance of Google reviews because of LSA and local maps. But there's even nuances to the reviews. So you want to coach up your clients to use superlatives, to say they're the best lawyer, they're the top lawyer. Now, you can't do that in regard. If you're an attorney, you can't make that claim, but your clients can certainly make that claim. The other thing too is you want to get reviews that will impact the listicles. So we talked about Yelp. You want to get reviews on Yelp because you need a certain amount of reviews to be listed in the Yelp listicles. Okay, so take Yelp specifically. Those reviews are difficult to stick, but there's the best tactic here is don't send the freaking checks out in the mail or wire the money for your settlements. Require them to come into the office. You can batch it all to one day. You can make it an experience. You can give them wearables, get testimonials, whatever you need to do. You can get feedback. Have them come in on a day and geo check in to Yelp. So when they come in, have them check in on Yelp. That's it. Incentivize the behavior to check in. And when they leave, Yelp will ask them to talk about their experience. And then those reviews tend to stick and not filter. So that's a way to get Yelp reviews. You need, like I said, 20 to 40 to show up in those best car accident lawyer searches on Yelp. And then the other component that is really important are Facebook reviews. And Facebook, you either get two options. It's two options. Do you recommend this firm or not? And then they aggregate that information, or they average out that information into a rating. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't know about Facebook. Facebook aggregates to numerous sites their reviews. They aggregate to Trustpilot, they aggregate to expertise.com. And a lot of these third-party sites, for their listicles, use Facebook's reviews to show up in their listicles. Like, for example, Expertise. The game has changed. Like, you have to get reviews at numerous locations. It's always been important. It's something that I don't talk about a lot because of how strong it is for our clients. But now that we're talking about LLMs, that's the review game. You got to have a process for reviews. You know, there's three main components during the intake, during the onboarding, during the closeout, and anytime a consumer says thank you in between could be an opportunity for a review. That's the reviews. Anything you want to add there, Sasha? Then I'll move on to the third one.
No, but something that's worth mentioning actually is that reviews have always been incredibly important, but also very challenging to get. Most of your happy clients would not be that happy to leave you a review because it's a little extra task. For that reason, the tactic that Chris just mentioned, do not mail them checks. This is for PI lawyers, I get it. But for PI lawyers, do not mail them checks. Get them to show up at your office. Give them that check. Celebrate the moment. It's probably been long in the making. It's a wonderful opportunity to get that review with proper geotagging because they check into your location, which makes it more sticky than if they leave it from their home. Yelp is notorious for filtering out reviews. And also it gives you an opportunity to take some great pictures. Those that you can post on your success stories and those you can post on your social media, not just your website. It gives you an opportunity to record a video testimonial. There are so many opportunities that you can unpack in that 1 hour where a very happy client, you get them at their happiest that you will ever get them at. This is it. It might have been 2-3 years in the making. Get them in. Is it extra work? Yes. But the ROI on that extra work, tremendous.
The other thing too is review gating through software is against Google's terms of service. You can talk to them in person. Hey, how was your experience? Before you ask for a review, you can kind of gauge if they're happy or unhappy. And it's just so effective. So I know, and also, by the way, it's also a better client experience too. If a client wants to get their money now as opposed to waiting, and who doesn't want to go drive for a check worth thousands of dollars? Like, they, trust me, they will be there to pick up the money. So, ton of advantages there.
Yeah, it's an absolute climax of all of this time and effort that went into getting it. So they're waiting for the check. They will definitely try to seize the opportunity. It's a tremendous opportunity. But overall, let's just summarize it. Your reviews are going to be very important. Your directory or your marketing team's directory strategy is very important. Do not let them and you, because it's a partnership, they can't do it for you, they can do it with you. Do not let your directory strategy go to a chance. There's a chance that they're going to leave a review. Terrible. Losing mentality. Has to be done very proactively. It's incredibly important. So let's keep going. Next.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just reviews are more important than ever. And if you have an evangelist, have them leave a review in more than one location. That's the key.
Yep.
They're happy to do it. They're an evangelist. Let's move on to links or citations that kind of go hand in hand of when you're cited on a different site, different website. A few things that come to mind. First, just like Yelp's traffic is exploding in the legal industry, Justia's traffic is exploding. It's very important to be listed on Justia. They've modified their directory. Now, when you go there, you have to get one. If you claim your review, if you claim your profile, if you get one peer review, you can get a 10 out of 10 rating. This is a new feature. And they're using it to manipulate LLMs. I get it. Hey, stay ahead of the game. And it's had a dramatic impact on their traffic. So Justia, incredibly important. You want to have every single attorney at the office a 10 out of 10. It's super easy to do. Claim it, fax in your bar ID and and go fill the profile out and get one peer review and you're there. Incredibly important. Another legal specific site that I like is bestlawyers.com. It's got the superlative best in the name, it tends to be referenced in these LLMs quite a lot. If you look at the citations, I would say, and we've already talked about some of these others, the Yelp and the super lawyers and things of that nature. Some people will mention Avo. The traffic's it's just tanking. So I don't put a ton of importance on it anymore. But really, it's the age old principles. It's like, what are the top sites that I can be referenced on that are credible? That's going to help my SEO and my discoverability. And those are so it's the same game. You want to get links. You want to get links from where the LLMs are citing the listings, and those are a few of the tactics that come to mind.
Yeah. Google came up with an acronym EEAT a few years ago, probably 3-4 years ago, if my memory serves me right. It stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trust. It is even more important to have all four of those for ChatGPT. And the reason for that is ChatGPT is trying to present the best information possible to the users in the shortest format possible, whether it's audio, whether it's on a screen. They just do not have, for most users, do not have this giant monitor. People are using ChatGPT primarily on mobile devices, unless they're doing it for work. But for searching for an attorney, rest assured, it's probably over 90%. We do not have that data, at least not yet. ChatGPT doesn't publish it. It's probably over 90% of users who are going to be looking for an attorney or asking a case-related question, because there's a lot more informational search than commercial search, meaning people want to get their questions answered through ChatGPT before they decide to call an attorney. That will happen on a mobile device. If you have that expertise and experience and authority, which builds trust, EEAT, and Google knows it, ChatGPT will know it. Chris, 20 minutes ago or so, you said that it's almost a mirror image of what's happening on Google. If Google props you up because you earned that experience of expertise, authority, and trust, ChatGPT is going to prop you up. It just has a lot less space. That's why it's very important to build that expertise, authority, which leads to trust on Google before you can be featured on ChatGPT. And today, again, in Q3 of 2025, at the time of this recording, well, we're in Q4 now, 27% of all search traffic comes from ChatGPT. I would not be surprised that if we are recording this podcast a year from now, it will be over 50%. This is not to be ignored. If you're not getting it today, it's like you're driving your car and check engine light is on. You may get a few more miles out of that engine, but if you do not stop and do not get it checked out, that engine may cease. So the engine that produces leads today may be running out of steam. Is it going to die? I don't think it will die. There will always be room for Google. I do not see it shutting down. I do not see people completely moving to ChatGPT. And let me explain why I think that way. So 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, when YouTube became a thing, I thought that it's going to take away a very large search share from Google. Why? It's a lot easier to watch a video than to read a blog post. It seemed natural that people would gravitate toward YouTube, yet it still is a number 2 search engine, 19 years after Google acquired it. When Audible became a thing and Amazon acquired it, I was certain, we all drive, or at least pre-COVID, we all drove for a long time. I was certain that audiobooks would take over from physical books. I recently checked. It's 2-to-1. 2 physical copies sold for every one audio copy. Why? Because humans like to consume information in different ways. So Google is important, ChatGPT is important, the new or the old abbreviation SEO. Now a lot of people look at it and say search everywhere optimization. It's not just Google, it's not just Bing, it's Google and it's Bing and it's ChatGPT and Gemini and Perplexity and social, because some people use social for search now, which a few years ago I would have said absolutely not. Like nobody's going to search for a lawyer on TikTok. No longer true. And Chris, you mentioned Avo Directory. 3 years ago, who would have said they would be tanking? No way.
Right. I would after that the internet brands and they laid off everybody. I
They sure
I would
know
have
how
put
to
an
destroy a
asterisk there.
business. They sure know how to destroy a business.
Yeah.
They're actively destroying. They're actively destroying like more things in our ecosystem, unimaginable. They're buying good businesses and just devastate them.
You know, it's I think the other ones we haven't talked. You know, you mentioned YouTube. YouTube's a big source of truth for these LLMs, and
Hmm.
so uploading your own transcriptions that are organized, optimized playlists. You know, your tags, descriptions there are important, and then the other one that we didn't talk about, which geez, why do we miss this one, or I missed this one, is the Reddit. Um, you know, Google licensing Reddit to train its LLMs in 2024. You see Reddit ranking incredibly well, and you know, there's the bad group of people that are just spamming Reddit, and then there's the be a person of value. So be helpful, collect those karma points, create your own subreddit if you can have specific conversations about a practice area or a location, and that can actually contribute to your ability to be discovered on these LLMs as well.
Yeah, very important point. So to list them, not in the order of importance because they're all important. Your general SEO, incredibly important. Your local SEO, which your reviews are part of that, incredibly important. Your citations, incredibly important. Your directories are incredibly important. Like all of those things, it's not one thing or the other. If you're missing one of those things, probability of you showing up in ChatGPT search results takes a great hit. Why? Because if your competitors take care of all of those things, ChatGPT is in the business of featuring the best of the best, and you can ask it. Like you can pick up your phone right now and be like, "Help me find." If you're a divorce attorney, you own and operate a divorce law firm. Go like, "Hey, I need a divorce lawyer. Help me find one." It will list three, and then ask it, "How did you decide on these three?" And if you're not one of those three, ask why you're not there. Like, well, what about my law firm? Why aren't I featured? It will be a fascinating conversation. I've done it with a few prospects, and they're like,
It's
the
great.
moment of realization. It's the hard truth because there you are. Like I'm in Fort Lauderdale. It knows that I'm in Fort Lauderdale. It will be like, well, here are the top three divorce attorneys in Fort Lauderdale. Why these guys? Plenty of reviews, plenty of citations. They've been in business. Like it knows. It knows. So all of the things that Chris mentioned, incredibly important. Not one, not two, not three, not all of them. Absolutely all of them. If your marketing team, if you're confident in your marketing team that they're taking care of it all, keep going. If you're not, your check engine light is on. It's
It's good.
blinking. It's trying to get your attention. It is, I don't want to say it's now or never, but later it will be more expensive. I don't want to say harder because you're not going to be doing most of these things. Your marketing team will, but it's going to be way more expensive because catching up is always more expensive than leading when things just start happening. And I think the ramp up for somebody who wants to catch up is going to be incredibly expensive because your marketing team, whoever you're going to hire at that time of awakening, where you're like, oh shit, I've heard about this, I should have taken care of it. Now there are fewer cases because the real danger here is there will be fewer cases coming in because you are not on the platform where many people today are looking, and with every passing month there are more people who are looking there. If you're not there, you will be getting fewer cases unless you live off referrals. But you know what? I'm going to self correct myself. Here's why. I think there will be fewer referrals in not too distant of a future for the reason that Chris referred to ChatGPT as he. He is my guide who knows way more than anybody else and all of us combined. which is wild, but it does. It would be really hard. Almost, I cannot think of a question that I would ask ChatGPT and I didn't know the answer. May give me a slightly incorrect answer, slightly, but most of it would be correct. So as we're training to trust he more and more, why would you want to send someone an email and ask like, who would you recommend? Like it's just one person who would recommend, but he, aka ChatGPT, knows everything. So I think that there will be fewer referrals to go around once our minds are trained on. And I picked up, for those who are listening and not watching this, I picked up my phone. It takes like I have an Android. It takes a second to fire up Gemini and ask a question. Like a second, I just press a button and it's on with ChatGPT. And this is why I think, in part, in the longer run, Google is going to start overtaking ChatGPT for search. Like Gemini is going to start overtaking ChatGPT in search because ChatGPT lacks the hardware. Google has majority of the hardware. I don't know how iPhone sales stack up against all the Android devices that are out there. But even if they're 50-50 and Apple doesn't have its own play, that Apple AI intelligence sucks horribly from what I hear. I don't have an Apple phone, but I tried it a couple of times and I'm like, it's inferior to both ChatGPT and Gemini. And because Google has that hardware, I think that Google, once it decides to unleash its AI in all of its capacity, I think that it's not going to take very long for Google to catch up to ChatGPT and probably start overtaking it in search. Yeah,
All
probably
said.
going to. Thanks for all the insights. Really
Yeah, of
appreciate you being
course.
here.
Of course. Love the combo. Love the
Yeah,
back and forth.
the fu-
Uh,
the future is bright.
it is. It is. Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having me.